We're joined here on Flow FM by Dr. Anne Tonkin, Chair of the Medical Board. Anne, how are you today?
Not bad, thanks, Ricky. Thanks for having me.
Anne, look, before we talk about some other matters that we do want to get into about regional health, just congratulations on your Order of Australia nomination for services to the medical community and pharmacology.
Thank you very much.
And I guess it's that experience that you bring to being the chair of the medical board, and in that context of the health regulation body AHPRA, we've been hearing criticisms of the time it takes, the process when it comes to getting an international doctor or someone brought into the country to help fill regional health shortages. What's happening on the streamlining front at AHPRA?
Yeah, we're very aware of the need that we have in the regional areas for more doctors. And we do have some fast-track processes already for doctors who are coming to Australia from countries with similar systems to ours, similar qualifications and similar health systems. So, for example, England, Ireland, Canada, etc. And they can come in much more easily than doctors from other places where the systems are very different. It's not one system, one track for everybody. Each doctor is assessed individually in terms of their suitability to work here. And so it does get a bit complicated.
Yeah, and I acknowledge not only is it a complex situation, but also you can't be, weakening the standards of who we're approving to provide health services in Australia either.
That's right, and we're certainly not in the business of dropping standards for people who are in the bush. You know, they, if anything, the doctors who work out in remote areas need to be really highly skilled.
And when it comes to the cost of this, I gather this isn't necessarily something that AHPRA or the medical board could control in the case of doctors, but there has been a complaint raised, for instance, at a regional forum in Mildura last week, was that it is incredibly costly to get these doctors into the country as well.
We do have some fees for applications. We need to process the applications, and obviously that costs some money, but it's not a great deal of money. No, there are a whole range of people who get involved with finding doctors for jobs, and fees are applied at different levels. So it's not something that we can control completely. Absolutely, you're right.
Yes, a question we might ask the government shortly on that front. But I notice also in some recent articles there's been mentions that others have talked with you about general practice and its ground that it's got in terms of being a preferred specialty, this being sort of the stock in trade of most doctors in regional Australia. What are we doing, or what are you aware of that's happening in terms of improving the number of students that are getting into general practice so we don't need to rely on bringing so many doctors in?
Yeah, it's a really difficult one. The issue is not really that we have too few doctors, it's that there aren't enough who want to go out into the bush, and that's not just in general practice but in other areas. So we're looking at the possibility of setting up an area of medicine called rural generalism, which might make people a little more enthusiastic about that. And that's going through the process at the moment. There are a whole range of things that can be done to encourage doctors to go and work out in the bush, but it's a difficult area because many of them, by the time they've graduated, they've got wives and husbands and families and partners, and they don't necessarily want to up sticks and move.
Yeah, and that's a great challenge. And one of the other challenges is just the demands on doctors' time in regional areas. And we talked with the Rural Health Commissioner recently, Dr. Ruth Stewart from Roma, about this situation. She was talking about a possible multi-disciplinary approach going forward as a means to maybe changing the way services are provided in regional areas. Is that a way forward to maybe alleviate the strain and the on-call nature of practice in regional areas?
I think it is, and I think it's already happening in many places. There are some very remote places where the primary care is provided by a nurse practitioner with a doctor at the end of the phone if they need some help with it, and the ability to move people out if they need more complex care. So I think there is a big potential for us to do things in a multidisciplinary way and take some of the pressure off some of the doctors out in the bush who some of them find themselves on call, 24/7, and that is not an easy lifestyle to maintain.
And just before we go, I just wanted to check in with you about the scenario when it comes to aged care provision in regional areas. To what extent is the medical board involved in, I guess, just that there is a dilemma there in terms of staffing in that area as well? And I guess that might be an area where we rely more on other health professionals to provide services to those in our aged care facilities.
Well, I think we already do, and we have a lot of really skilled aged care workers who are registered health practitioners in nursing, for example, but we also have a whole lot of people who are very skilled but who are not at the moment registered health professionals at all. Doctors really have a lesser role to play in aged care on a day-to-day basis, although obviously it's really important for residents in aged care to be able to get medical assistance when they need to.
Well, Dr. Anne Tonkin, thanks so much for joining us to clarify a few things about just that streamlining as well when it comes to getting doctors into regional areas. We'll keep following that up here on Flow FM.
Thank you very much.